Indigenous Australia. Australia's history begins with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, who are believed to have arrived on the continent around 65,000 years ago. These indigenous Australians developed diverse cultures, languages, and spiritual connections to the land, living in harmony with nature for thousands of years. They practiced complex systems of governance, trade, and art, and are known for their deep spiritual traditions, including the Dreamtime, which is a cornerstone of their worldview, European exploration and colonization. In 1606, the Dutch explorer Willem Janszoon became the first known European to sight Australia, but it wasn't until 1770 that British explorer Captain James Cook charted the eastern coastline and claimed it for Britain. He named the territory New South Wales. This marked the beginning of British interest in Australia, although other Europeans had explored the western and northern coasts prior to Cook's arrival. The First Fleet and Penal Colonies 1788. In 1788, the British government sent the first fleet of 11 ships carrying convicts, marines, and settlers to establish a penal colony in Botany Bay, which later moved to Port Jackson, now Sydney. This marked the start of European settlement in Australia, initially a solution to overcrowded prisons in Britain. The colony faced harsh conditions and interactions with indigenous populations, which led to conflict and displacement of Aboriginal people. Expansion and colonization 1800s. During the 19th century, free settlers began to arrive in Australia, alongside a continuing influx of convicts. The discovery of gold in New South Wales and Victoria in the 1850s sparked a massive gold rush, drawing immigrants from around the world and transforming Australia's economy. By the late 19th century, Australia consisted of 6 self-governing British colonies: New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Federation of Australia 1901. On January 1, 1901, Australia became a federation, uniting the 6 colonies into the Commonwealth of Australia. The new nation adopted a constitution and maintained a strong connection to the British monarchy, which persists today. Over time, Australia developed its own national identity, moving away from its colonial roots, world wars, and international influence. Australia played a significant role in both world wars, particularly on the Gallipoli Peninsula in World War I, which is commemorated on Anzac Day, April 25. The aftermath of World War II saw Australia shift its focus from Britain to alliances with the United States. Especially during the Cold War, Australia also embraced large-scale immigration after World War II, which transformed it into a multicultural society. Modern Australia. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Australia became a leader in human rights advocacy, particularly in recognizing Indigenous rights. The 1967 referendum was a significant moment, where over 90% of Australians voted to include Indigenous Australians in the census and allow the federal government to make laws for them. Australia also adopted progressive social policies, including the recognition of same-sex marriage in 2017. Amazing facts about Australia. Largest island, smallest continent. Australia is both the world's largest island and its smallest continent. Its geography is diverse, with deserts, tropical rainforests, and stunning coastlines. Unique wildlife. Australia is home to some of the world's most unique and diverse wildlife, including kangaroos, koalas, platypuses, and emus. Many species are found nowhere else on Earth. Great Barrier Reef. Off the coast of Queensland lies the Great Barrier Reef, the largest coral reef system in the world. It is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Indigenous culture. Australia's Aboriginal culture is the oldest continuous living culture in the world, dating back over 65,000 years. Indigenous art, music such as the didgeridoo and Dreamtime stories are an integral part of Australia's cultural heritage. Sparse population. Despite being the sixth largest country in the world, Australia has a relatively small population of about 26 million people, with most living along the coast. The interior, known as the outback, is sparsely populated. No official language. Although English is the de facto language, Australia has no official national language. Over 250 indigenous languages were spoken before European settlement, with some still in use today. Home to 19 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Australia is home to several UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including the Sydney Opera House, Kokodu National Park, and Uluru Kota Tjuta National Park. World's longest fence. Australia has the world's longest fence, called the Dingo Fence, stretching over 5,600 kilometers, about 3,480 miles. It was built to keep dingoes away from fertile land in the southeastern part of the country. Bizarre laws. Australia has some quirky laws. For example, it's illegal to walk on the right-hand side of a footpath in some parts of the country. Another law states that you can't dress up as Batman or Robin without permission in the state of Victoria. Oldest rainforest. The Daintree rainforest in Queensland is believed to be one of the oldest rainforests in the world, over 180 million years old, predating the Amazon. Sports enthusiasts. Australia is a sports-loving nation, excelling in cricket, rugby, and Australian rules football. The country has hosted the Olympics twice, in Melbourne in 1956 and Sydney in 2000. Longest road network. Australia has one of the longest road networks in the world, with over 900,000 kilometers of roads, including the famous Stuart Highway, which spans the continent from north to south. Flying Doctors Service. Due to the vastness of the outback, Australia has the Royal Flying Doctor Service, one of the largest and most comprehensive aeromedical services in the world. A nation of beaches. Australia boasts over 10,000 beaches. If you visited one new beach every day, it would take you over 27 years to see them all. World's largest monolith. Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, is the largest monolith in the world and a sacred site for the Unungu people, the traditional landowners. Australia's mix of indigenous culture, European history, modern society, and natural wonders makes it one of the most unique and fascinating places on Earth.